So I am waiting for the wildlife biologists, marine, whatever the biologists they are. I don't know what label, what title they have, but the original guy they talked to on the phone that had the experience with Sasquatch up the coast and is friends with John Bendernagel's grandson, who's a biologist. He could not make the trip, so he had a stand-in with him. So there's 5 of them here. They range, it looks like they all range from age from about early 30s to the oldest fellow might be 60-ish plus. So they all seem a little, I'm just feeling them out a little bit. I don't drop the topic on anybody right off the bat, so I got a few days with them. I'm going to hang out with them, and I'll eventually see if it feels right, see if anybody's interested and maybe receptible, maybe into engaging in the topic. I have a feeling if any of them so far, probably the senior guy of the group. So right now they are in a helicopter flying over top of eagle nests on these islands that I have to go get them to and get them on shore with the Zodiac. And so I'm just sitting here right now waiting for them to come back from the helicopter, and then I'll start transporting them across. And they got a guy that's going to climb the tree and take samples from the eagles. So in the meantime, I'm going to sit here and finish up an email. One of the emails in the last video I posted here, as I was reading down, came to the end of the email, and there's another email from the same person attached. And it's a long one. And it's right here, and I'm going to read it right now while I've got time. So, listen to this. Do I know what it's going to say? Nope. But this person's emailed us before. Hi, Steve JD here. I wrote you about the Calling Back Your Spirit ceremony, Frog Clan, Decal. I want to fill in a few holes I kind of left open in the last letter. So in this letter, I'm going to talk about more of the ancestral stuff, little people, witchcraft, cannibal giants, among other things. But first, to the topic of PTSD again. I don't want to lead anyone astray, so I'm going to have to be a bit less cryptic and a little more forthcoming about some details of things. Every time I sit to write, it is difficult to articulate myself and say what I fully want to share accurately. So here it goes. Firstly, do I think folks with PTSD from their experiences need to do a calling back your spirit ceremony? Likely not. You don't have to buy a ticket to a foreign place where you once had a bad time, or even go back to the place where it happened. This is just my personal opinion. I told you about all that so that your listeners could gain perspective from an ancient people's understanding, and not just the clinical psychology or psychiatry perspective, although those are useful too. PTSD usually is a feeling of not being able to eat or sleep, and feeling like you have to find a way to turn your head away from the reality to ignore its claw. We usually do this with drugs, drinking, fighting, sexual episodes, or end up dabbling in some kind of ceremony or ritual, what my tribe would call medicine. A person should probably avoid dabbling with medicine. When I say that, I'm talking about the old ways, ceremonies, and rituals. The fact is, it can really mess you up, and you could end up worse than you were before. What I'm trying to say is that all you really have to do is ask Jesus Christ to take the wheel. Let him know what you are struggling with. Be humble and admit it is beyond your scope, and ask him to breathe his spirit into you and remake you anew. That's the best way I have found personally. This goes really well with fasting, praying, and straight up reading your Bible. Matt, Mark, Luke, and John is a great core standard. Keep things simple and give it to Christ. The old ways are very interesting because they fill in puzzle pieces in a way you probably never heard before. So that is why I shared from the medicine man. Would I personally go back, would I personally do the black cloth over the head thing, calling out my name in 4 directions? No. I used the name and title of the Most High. This is where I arrived at after my lifetime of crazy stuff happening to me. I know it sounds nuts, but the name Jesus Christ has all the power you need. Stick to that. I just wanted to make that discrepancy so as not to lead anyone into doing something that might land them in a worse place than the first. Again, I tell you about the losing a piece of your spirit thing because it's a way of understanding that it is unique to us Indigenous folk, and I think it is important to make that connection if you want to be healed. So, medicine, as we call it, is very powerful, and it can make you go crazy. Stick with the name Jesus Christ and he will come in and fix things for you. At least he did for me. In regard to the lady I got out of the psych ward, I used a bunch of NLP and hypnotic techniques, none of which were working. Then I simply found the name of the thing that was really bothering her by digging around with NLP-style coaching and banished it in the name of Christ. She hated me for the first 4 sessions, and when I did that on the 5th session, she came off the couch smiling and hugging. Totally different person. Before that, she was hyper-suggestible to only negative things in her environment. After she was smiling and loving. For the record, I don't use NLP or hypno anymore. I simply take the fasting, prayer, and Bible reading approach in the name of Jesus Christ, and that's it. I love the two beatitudes. Honor God and honor your fellow man. I believe on his name with all my mind, soul, body, and strength. So yeah, I'm a total God-bothering weirdo. LOL. Thank you for listening to that. Thank you for this round table where I feel safe to speak on these things. Sometimes having this info and keeping it to yourself is the equivalent of passing a mental kidney stone. So sharing really helps. That's a good way of putting it, man. My grandmother, or Atsu, told us never play with Ouija boards, tarot, none of that mess. In our culture, there is witchcraft. My Atsu told us never do witchcraft because it comes back on you 3 times. Not on you, but on your loved ones or children. Yikes, eh? So yeah, keep far away from all that stuff. These are all puzzle pieces. I will continue. There are folks that still do these things, and it is bad for them as much as they are trying to hurt others. This is why we pray for our enemies. We ask for them that JC open their hearts and breathe his spirit into them so they can get their feet back on the path. Because he died for them, he wants them to be saved too and not perish to the second death. Pray, therefore, the strongest prayer for those who are surrounded by wickedness. Give it to Jesus if you can't handle it. I know, sounds like a broken record, but I digress. To paint this picture for you more clearly, I'll have to tell you a bit about my own struggles. You see, ever since I was a child, I had very harsh sleep paralysis and night terrors. The way I understand it is that someone in my bloodline was doing witchery, murder, or something of the kind, and the sins of this are passed down in a generational curse. How this manifests is like a weight on your chest, and they call it old hag. Sometimes it's a shadow man. Sometimes it's a succubus. Sometimes it's like a mountain of needles coming to crush you. It feels like sheer terror. You're awake, but you can't move or speak. That is sleep paralysis in a nutshell. I've heard attempts to intellectualize as hypnagogic, dreams, etc. But no. In my experience, it is all too real. Night terrors, on the other hand, is where you get up and walk around and say things. The discrepancy between a night terror and a sleepwalk is that in a night terror you are terrified, like to the max, and the things you say and do are not very nice. Now, my father had this too. They brought in a medicine man and got it off of him, but no one ever did that for me. I went through life having this happen to me constantly for years and years and years. I thought it was normal and that everyone had it. In my early 20s, I became somewhat of an atheist, and that is when it really got bad. You see, it matters where you sleep. Anyways, it was peaking and I was looking for answers. So I called my dad to ask him about the medicine man thing. He said, "Son, I know you don't believe in it, but hang your grandmother's rosary above your bed." I did that and it died down somewhat, but it still wasn't until I was scouring videos on the subject on YouTube and found a random lady's comment who seemed to know what was up. And she said to say the name Jesus Christ in your mind. And that worked. I couldn't believe it. Instead of being paralyzed with weight on the chest, I would say his name in my mind's eye, and it would be banished instantly, and I'd be fully awake. The reason you say his name with your mind is because you can't speak, but your mind is awake and aware. So that's what I did. And this is a huge reason for my faith. The attacks became less and less and less. I still get the odd one, but not nearly the breadth and scope of what it was growing up. The reason why I feel this is relevant to your topic is because there are elements of terror and paralysis involved in some folks' experiences. I hope this helps someone in some way. Again, I'm not keen to divulge all the personal info, but if it helps someone, well. You see, the only thing that matters to me anymore, Steve, is when this life is over and I stand before my Creator and they ask me, what did you do with the life God gave you? I want to be able to say I honored Christ and I love my fellow man as myself. Moving along, back in the day, we only had outhouses. There's no electricity, and you packed your water from the river. There is a place past my grandfather's old house where they say the little people are. My father told me that when he was a child, their outhouse was located down that way. So he would go down there, and he told me that something would hold him there and not let him go, and it would tickle him. He described it as small, but he said it was black and white, except he couldn't make out any distinguishing characteristics because it would move and spin around in circles so fast that you couldn't see it clearly. When I was a boy, I would play guns with my little buddies down at this beach, and there were all these houses and outhouses there. I was a very adept hunter, even at a young age, and I could sneak up on people. I came around the door of this outhouse with my stick that I was pretending was a gun, and I was going to play shoot my pal who I thought was in there. I saw something gray go down the hole and disappear inside. To this day, I have no clue what that was. My little mind rationalized it as a gray, wrinkly garbage bag that must have got puffed up by air and looked like a round lump of wrinkly gray receding down the hole of his outhouse. Now that I think about that as a grown man, I realize it isn't the case. I snuck up on something gray and mottled that disappeared down that hole. No clue what it was, though. Another time, years later, my brother was sleeping on my sister's couch. There was a girl sleeping on the other couch. He told me that he was paralyzed and that there was a gnome-looking creature with a little gnome hat just standing across the other side of the room looking at him. Because of me, he knew to say Jesus Christ and got out of the paralyzation. An elder woman who I used to hang out with, she is no longer of this world, but when she told me that there was a man. Can't remember his name, but he went hunting away from the village one day. He came up on this small man and was about to enter into a rock into the mountain. Then he woke up 10 miles away from the spot where he was. She told me it was good luck, and he never had to go far to get a moose after that. She also said that there was a mountain in that area where people should never go. Okay, this letter's getting long. So again, the oldest elder we have left told me that there are two kinds of giants. The Sasquatch, hairy ones, and the Den-Lai, cannibals, hairless. The Den-Lai is a man-eater. The stories go that he would walk around with a big basket on his back made out of willow trees, and he would throw people into it as he went, and take them back to his abode and hang them up like smoked salmon. This discrepancy is this guy was not Sabe. He was a hairless giant, as they say, a cannibal. Since all these are puzzle pieces, and I know you don't discriminate, I'm going to divulge some real scary info about the scariest creature out there in our history. Our fellow man. Trigger warning. My great uncle went to residential school near here. There was a caretaker man that would cornhole him and his little friend on the daily. This is disgusting, and I apologize, but this needs to be said. His little friend eventually died, and the dude that did the abuse carried out the autopsy. He made my great uncle help him. He made him hold his friend's guts while he did the autopsy. Sick stuff, I know. Now you know too. My father said it best. Sasquatch never bothered me, son, but people bothered me a lot. Okay, I've been up too late writing this. I need to sleep. This was on my mind so much I feel like crying. All my relations, I love you all. Be good to each other. I hope this helps you in some way, and I hope it fills a few holes of the puzzle. God bless, JD. JD, I appreciate you, man. I appreciate you taking your time out to email all the people here through me. And the residential school topic has come up in my life recently in great detail, as I have spoken to one of the most brave, strong people I've ever met, who's a survivor of a residential school experience. And it's really the conversations of what I've learned, what I've seen, and how I watched this person, how what kind of an absolute hero human being she really is. And it made me look at a bunch of different things differently in life, and how we operate, how we go about it, who we consider heroes, who we consider worthy of following, who we consider tough as nails and enduring things. And it just blows me away how our true heroes, the true strongest people I've ever met and come across, aren't even on the radar, mainstream wise. And I am really thinking about making a video just to send a message directly relating to that topic of the residential schools, what happened, how it happened, what really happened, and to put it. And I think I've been chewing on it. I'm thinking I just may do it, but I'm going to do it in a typical blunt, to the point, and not deliver it in, I'm not even going to tiptoe about it with the details, and imprint it in the minds of all the people who are interested, and show you what a true, I didn't even know the words, a true, strong, incredibly strong person really truly is, and who should be an example to all humans on this planet. Anyways, I'm babbling a little bit on that. It's coincidental that you mentioned that, because that's really been on my mind the last few days a lot. But anyway, let's hope this share helps someone. Again, just like the person who just emailed us said, this is a safe place. It's a safe place. So anybody else wants to add more to this? I'm going to make these videos a little shorter because it takes so long to load them from where I am and edit them off of the GoPro. And I think that should suffice for this one for now, I think. Maybe I'll have a look here and see if there's another one that's not that long, just to get another one out. They're all important. Everybody needs to be heard, man. Everyone. All right, what do we got here? It's titled Bigfoot. Hey Steve, I wrote a little email to another one of your email addresses. Didn't see this one till now. Anyways, yes, the Biden administration sucks bad, and more people need to stand up for what they believe in order to change things. Anyways, me and my girlfriend camped at Switzer Lake in Virginia, and heard screams and chatter and total silence in the woods. We have a favorite campsite that every time we camp there, as soon as we arrive, a huge rock is thrown close to us, but not close enough to hurt us. One rock every time we camp there. We've also heard strange whistles that are hard to explain why they don't sound human. There's a place where we walk where the time changes on our cell phones to October 23rd every time we walk there. We checked a BF blah blah report that said a Bigfoot was hit by a car in October. We've also seen the tops of trees sway, and my girlfriend had a stick thrown at her. Also, there is a large rock formation that looks just like a 10-foot door at the lake. Something real strange is there is a Navy listening base right on the other side of the mountain in West Virginia. I think it's called Sugar Grove. This place is very strange, with total silence at night and strange trails that look like something heavy made them. Also, there's tree structures everywhere. Some of my friends were on the dumb one night and saw something they said was eye shine over 10 feet tall, with other eye shine 6 feet high. Green eyes, spread far apart. They turned away when the light hit their eyes. We've camped many times. It's freaking scary some nights, but we've never been threatened, just told they're there. There are many reported sightings there, and many times we've camped there with nobody else there. Anyways, you can share my name. I don't really care what people think. I know the truth about them. Check your other emails for more info. Bigfoot is very advanced, and if people want to see them more, either don't bring a camera at all or bring an old Kodak with no digital media or a hand-crank movie camera. These guys don't F around. They are very ancient and know way more than we do about life. Thanks for what you do, Jeff Leitch. I hope I pronounced your last name, Jeff, correctly, Leitch. Appreciate the email, and if I could offer up any kind of encouragement, it would be to possibly get a hold of David Plottis with your mention of your watches changing. I know he's going to be interested in hearing that, about that, for sure. Now, my crew is due back in about 7 minutes. So, and now I am going to cut this short, but I'm going to take up reading and sharing more very shortly. All right, I think I can add a little more on there yet. That was a little short of time. So, let's get another voice heard while we can. The day I joined the club. Hey Steve, this is Nathan Long. I'm of Aboriginal descent, and I am a Wiradjuri Kurnai. I was about 8 or 9 years. I went to a fishing spot outside of Gordon, a little town just back from Ballarat. It's a water supply for Geelong. It's a strange place, almost a large dam, but more a small lake around this area. There are a lot of pine forests and good fishing spots around the area for redfin and trout. This lake is created by a bluestone dam wall, and it was an overcast day as we got out of the car and came through the gate. When it starts to rain, the redfin come on the bite. So we were hurrying down the hill on one side of the dam. Okay, there's no punctuation. Be patient with me. There was a lot of thunderstorms, and as we walked up the other side to get to the better fishing side of the lake, lightning looked like it hit the tree because big-sized branches started falling from the tree, which made myself, my father, and father friend look. This big, hairy, ape man-looking thing, kind of more of a bushman-looking face, but orangutan's color hair, about that look too, but it hit the ground with a thud. It looked quickly in our way, in a split second, turned and walked straight through a fence with about lower sections of chicken wire and top line of single barbed wire, which didn't stop it. It just stepped through it. And it just split apart. Sorry, this is tough. We all walked to the top of the hill, not really believing what we had seen. It happened so quickly. At the top of the hill, there was no pine forests. It was just farming paddocks for miles, and it was gone. Strangely, we just went about our normal and fished, went home. It wasn't for about a week or so later, me and just my dad went out there to go fishing, and he asked me, do I remember? And I said, yes. So we went straight to check the fence, and it looked like it never happened. Me and my dad talk about it sometimes, and wondering why we never said anything back then. Just like it was a voice telling me, nah, I'm just a monkey. But looking at it, it was no monkey. Now when I speak to elders, they say they were here before us. It's their land, and they would leave food for them when they hunt, and after that they would help them hunt. My people call them Yahwehs. Anyway, thanks Steve. Keep speaking the truth. All the best to you and your family. Kind regards, Nathan Long. Nathan, just figured it out. You are from Australia. I guess you must have done the voice to text dictate thing or whatever. No punctuation. Sorry, you guys, if I butchered that. It's definitely not intentional. And yet again, another first-hand account of these beings not being so typical of an animal, right? And showing some traits that most of us just can't wrap our beans around. But if you listen to the people, eventually we will be able to, right? I think so. All right, here's something short to add on. I don't see my guest coming yet. This title, Leave Me Alone. Author unknown, submitted by Gary Witt of Green River, Wyoming. Yes, you may use my name. Read before you share. The most terrifying force of death comes from the hands of men who wanted to be left alone. They try so very hard to mind their own business and provide for themselves and those they love. They resist every impulse to fight back, knowing the forced and permanent change of life that will come from it. They know that the moment they fight back, their lives, as they have lived them, are over. The moment the men who wanted to be left alone are forced to fight back, it is a form of suicide. They're literally killing off who they used to be. Which is why, when forced to take up violence, these men who want to be left alone fight with an unholy vengeance against those murdered their former lives. They fight with a raw hate and a drive that cannot be fathomed by those who are merely play-acting at politics and terror. True terror will arrive at these people's door, and they cry, scream, and beg for mercy, but it will fall upon the deaf ears of the men who just wanted to be left alone. There we go. It's a little random, but I can relate to that email, I think, as many of you probably can too. Wouldn't you think? It's not a funny feeling. I think it's a fact. We're headed towards some real shitty times. Well, we're in shitty times now. There's no doubt about it. But I have a feeling things are going to get a lot more dark. Surround yourself with people who have a bright light. That's what I can say for certain right now. Surround yourself with people who embrace the bright light and not the dark. But anyway, thanks for that email, man. Thanks for those words. And I hope more and more people are becoming more and more uncomfortable with the state of affairs today in many countries, including mine especially, and are seriously thinking about doing something about it. And one route to changing for the better for the people is called mass non-compliance. And that needs to be organized and practiced in a big, big way soon. I'll be back shortly.